$4. If I need to get somewhere, I'm gonna pay whatever it needs to go. You know, like
$5. $4.75. $3.
We're already paying that.
I don't know. $4.
They're like $4.50. $3.85. Something like that.
Crude oil continues to be the driving force of the energy industry and one of the most basic global commodities being traded in the stock market. As of data from 2010, the United States has revealed that if only its own oil reserves were available, they would last the country just 8 years at current pace. As a result, everyone from American stock traders to consumers is keeping an eye on oil price changes and the global events that impact them. In the last year, Brent crude oil has risen 44%, while average U.S. gas prices at the pump have risen 26%. Higher crude oil prices mean higher prices on many goods, which can cause a ripple effect on virtually all business concerns that are dependent on energy.
I think I would definitely start carbonating more, probably. If it's time to buy a car, I think about purchasing something better, miles per gallon.
I would carpool more, get a bike, and just think about driving less.
I'd think about getting a hybrid. I'd think about getting a bike too. Walking a lot more places, especially on campus. Yeah, definitely big lifestyle change once you got there.
I start riding my bike around. What I'm doing, I stay home.
Currently, there's an effort by the President to reduce or eliminate subsidies given to the oil industry. This would impact the cost and production of domestic oil. Here to talk about the topic is Mr. Hartford and Mr. Gordon, an oil lobbyist and a renewable lobbyist. We will start the conversation with Mr. Hartford. Do you agree with the Democrats in government? Should oil subsidies be reduced?
I agree with President Obama in believing that eliminating oil subsidies will benefit the USA in the long term. Just like my colleague Professor Milan, I believe that it has great potential to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Professor Milan believes that this is important for the future of the environment.
So effectively, the Earth will, heats up to a point until there's a radiation balance. We see that prior to any additional amounts of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. But then, as you put more and more of these gases in, more and more of this radiated heat will not make it back out into space and will be absorbed by gases in the atmosphere. The way we operate now, whatever carbon we burn, we put CO2 into the atmosphere. So to stem the effects of any kind of global warming or climate change or whatever, we've got to stop.
In my opinion, oil companies are already so profitable that reducing any tax benefits will not substantially affect their profitability or operations. As it is, ExxonMobil is currently the second most profitable company in the world. Why should they continue to receive benefits? Reducing oil subsidies will allow renewable energies like wind, solar, and geothermal to grow and provide future economic benefits. The most promising renewable, I think, is best described by my colleague, Professor Milan.
So I would say that the photovoltaics are probably the one that I think about it is at least a nice bridge between between the age that we're now and what might be the fusion age in the next 30 or 40 years. Mm-hmm. I think fusion is probably going to be the thing that will take over. But we're not there yet, so we need something to bridge.
Oil companies, led by ExxonMobil, strongly disagree with this logic. Mr. Gordon, what is the oil industry's stance on subsidies and tax breaks?
I believe that the current tax treatment of oil and natural gas companies needs to continue, especially during times of such economic uncertainty. The industry creates millions of jobs and contributes a substantial portion of state and federal tax revenues across the nation. Specifically, oil and natural gas companies employ more than 9.2 million people, adding about $1 trillion to the national economy, or 7.5% of GDP, and contribute billions of dollars in tax revenues to the government. It is a common myth that oil companies do not pay their fair share of taxes. In reality, from 2005 to 2009, ExxonMobil paid $63 billion in taxes to the federal government. This is $19 billion more than they even earned in the US alone during this period. Put differently, this money could completely fund the Department of Education for fiscal year 2011. It also translates into an effective tax rate of 47%, 20% higher than the average for all other S&P industrial companies.
Mr. Hartford, what is your response to these statements? Can you explain why renewable energy should receive more subsidies?
In order to reduce pollution, climate change, and dependence on fossil fuels, we must increase our use of renewable energy sources. By reducing our dependence on fossil fuels, mainly oil, we can reduce our involvement with its uncontrollable suppliers and distance ourselves from oil's unpredictable price fluctuations, which we are so prone to experiencing today. Renewable energy is the future and should receive subsidies until it can sustain itself. Oil has already established its market position and does not need subsidies. Renewable energy will help our economy, our environment, and our energy independence. Why wouldn't you want to subsidize it?
To conclude our discussion, Professor Gamber offers a macroeconomic viewpoint on current energy usage and the future of the energy industry. First, Professor Gamber will explain oil's price changes.
Rightly, there's some research by Jim Hamilton that says every recession in the U.S. economy has been preceded by a large increase in oil prices. On the other hand, not every large increase in oil prices has caused a recession. So that's kind of the mystery there. Some oil prices are driven by both supply and demand factors, and he was focusing only on the ones driven by supply factors. Now, the one that we are experiencing right now is mainly a supply-driven increase in the price of oil.
A hot topic for many Americans is the price of gas. Professor Gamber explains the increase in price from a macroeconomic point of view.
Because it might be that the price of gas goes up to $5 a gallon, but I don't think that's going to last very long. And you know, people want to smooth out their consumption over time, so I'll just keep consuming what I have been consuming. But if that $5 increase is accompanied by this sort of feeling or expectation that that's going to last for a really long time, then that's going to cause me to reconsider what I'm consuming.
At the end of the day, Professor Gamber and Professor Milon believe that oil is going to be the direct future for the USA. Professor Gamber explains when the USA will move from this oil source.
But that's exactly what happened. We were using oil from the sperm whale to light lamps. And of course, we almost decimated the population of sperm whales, but it got so difficult to find them that it was way too expensive to do that. So people found other sources of fuel. So something like that could happen. We don't really foresee what it is that will be the winning technology that will, I'm not saying replace oil, but you know, maybe be a substitute, a reasonable, feasible substitute for it in the future.
I think it's probably oil. I think we learned anything from this BP oil spill that that there's a lot of oil down there. We're going to find better ways of getting it out and be more efficient about it.
I think it's moving towards renewables. Green, we're going green, I think.
Going green.
I think we're going green.
I think it's going to be renewable resources, kind of like clean natural gas. I think you're going to see a lot of those like tanks installed in cars now. I know that the gallon of for natural gas is a lot cheaper than like oil and stuff.
Renewable resources. Yeah. It's got to be renewable.
Yeah.
Got to go to renewable at this point. Oil's too high. It's not gonna keep going. Like, you got to do something about it.